Hi, Jennifer Stewart here, and I'm so excited to be chatting with Christine McGough today as part of my Peace and Joy Parenting Summit interview series. And Christine is an amazing woman who has done so much for children and child development. She's the founder of the Genesis Learning Enhancement Center. She is a veteran conference speaker, a minister, and former homeschool mom. I can relate to that, homeschooling you right now. She's been actively using and learning about natural health methods for over 20 years as a naturopath, certified digestive health specialist through the Food Enzyme Institute, certified brain integration therapist, and touch for health instructor. She combines kinesiology with biochemistry. Biochemistry was my first job to address the brain-body connection and its effects on learning, recovery, and the quality of life. Christine has a lot, so I'm going to finish mentioning that she is amazing. Christine is also certified in youth mental health first aid, the CALM technique, which I think is amazing, QPR, gatekeeper suicide prevention, which in combination of over 20 years working with youth enables her to effectively handle the emotional complexities that often arise with those experiencing learning challenges, anxiety, past trauma, and autism spectrum disorders. That is a lot, Christine. It's impressive. It's her joy to not only offer her expertise in office, but to also empower families through educational classes, live and online, for those of you that don't live near her, in how to fuel their body for success, use stress reduction techniques, and create a healthy, abundant life. And so welcome, Christine, to chat with me today. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be having you. I am just so impressed when every time I read your bio. You have done a lot. It's amazing. And one of the reasons I was excited to chat with you when I learned more about what you do is that kids are dealing with so much stress nowadays, right? There's stress in every part of life, from sports to technology to just the busyness of the way our world is now. Parents are often trying to figure out, like, who's more scheduled than the other one, right? Trying to one-up each other with that. So what are some things that parents can do to help their kids relieve some of that stress on a daily basis?
Stress on a daily basis is a really interesting thing. Different personalities can handle different amount of stresses. And so, you have one kid, it seems like they can handle everything, they can go with the flow, and another kid just has a really hard time and is constantly encountering stress. And so, my number one tip for parents is always, first of all, to know who you are and appreciate what you have. And so that basically goes into studying some personality types and seeing what model of child do you have. No one fits into a cookie cutter, and yet sometimes understanding who you are and your personality and where your kid is and the kinds of things that they are dealing with, how they're processing things, is a tremendous help. You can alleviate a solid 85% of struggles sometimes by just understanding your child, understanding how they're processing, and what kinds of things you can do to help them just in that basic understanding of how they're hardwired. So there are some really, really great links that you can go to as a parent to educate yourself on yourself and your kid. One of them, if you're an adult, there's a website called 16personalities.com. And if you're a teenager or an adult, so basically anyone 12 and up, then you could go ahead and use 16personalities.com. It's a super fun test, super quick, and they'll even send you emails afterwards to help you with little things. It takes very little time, but it's life-changing. If you're under the age of 12, you can go to personalitypage.com, and that's for kids 7 to 12 years, and it's an accurate personality test. And that's going to really help quite a lot with understanding your kids.
Definitely. I know all three of my kids are so different. So I think, understanding what you have to work with is helpful.
And then, there's some other steps too. We talked about, each kid has their own processing style, but they also have their own love languages. And a good amount of stress, you can handle an awful lot in the real world, right? You can handle an awful lot if you've got a solid base at home. But one of the things that I see often is that a child is crying out for help or saying, I'm stressed through their different behaviors, through different things. And the parent thinks that they're giving love, and yet it's totally not the way that the child receives it. And so studying the 5 love languages is really important. And we found this out really early with my kids, thankfully. And I wish I had found it out even earlier in my marriage, right? How nice that would have been. But the 5 love languages, we tend to give love the way that we receive love. And so oftentimes as parents, we completely miss the mark as to how to make a safe, stable, stress-free environment for our kids where they can come and recoup and rest after the craziness of being at school all day, or the drama that happens, because we don't really understand how our kids are needing to process. So you can just go to the 5lovelanguages.com, and they have really neat, again, super fast and easy, really neat little assessment that you can take online. Very helpful for you to do. It'll strengthen your marriage, and we know strong marriages create strong homes and strong kids. And so that's great. It lets you choose the age if you're dealing with an adult or a child, if you're wanting the assessment for that. If they're dealing with a child assessment, they give you this whole list of tips of how to find out, little activities and things, how to find out what love language your child has. Now, isn't that a cool thing? You get to have fun activities and find out your kid's love language. And those are really things that are taught in being able to just kind of know what you're dealing with, create that safe haven in your home so that when they come home, they really truly can de-stress. And
sure.
They have that.
Well, and hopefully if you're able to fill up what their needs are through their love language, then they will not need to act out so much, right? Because they're already going to be getting what they need. So yes, definitely coming home and de-stressing, but even just to have that, I guess, for the next day then, yeah.
Yeah. The second thing that is really helpful with having the kids deal with all the stress is a really fun thing that you can go look up. It's called the Grump Meter.
I love that.
The Grump Meter is awesome because it's teaching the kids to be self-aware. And this is one of the key issues to being able to deal with stress and to being able to understand and develop an awareness of how we're feeling and how we're dealing with things. I often say parents and teachers often need to have their own grump meter, because we sometimes are not helping the situation with how we're handling things.
Right. And we don't need 2 kids. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So the Grump Meter is super fun. It's just thegrumpmeter.com. You can go there. You can also look it up on Pinterest, which is just real fun. They have all kinds of do-it-yourself things that you can do with your kid, pictures you can draw, whatever. But it's bringing awareness to, how am I feeling right now? Am I kind of escalating? How stressed am I? But then once you're teaching them how to be self-aware, it's a really great time to also then teach them some basic exercises that we know from Brain Gym, from Touch for Health, all of these things that are really helpful for parents and teachers to do on a daily basis to help a child's brain to switch back into a proper place of processing. And I think this is a key thing that you're talking about when we talk about our kids. How do we help our kids deal with stress? Well, depending on how they're processing, they could handle one day really well and another day very badly, and it could be the exact same stressor. But we know in the brain with neurology that we have a side to side, which is a right and left hemisphere interaction. Okay. We have a top to bottom interaction, and we have a front to back interaction, brainstem to the corpus, prefrontal cortex, sorry. Sure. And so we have these different switches that we can manually kind of turn back on. I call it a circuit breaker, okay? So if they're getting so stressed out that they blow a circuit breaker, then we have ways that we can help them turn these things back on, okay? So imagine your house, if it only had 3 circuit breakers, if even one of them flipped off, you'd be running at a certain noticeable deficit, right?
Definitely.
So these are things we can do for ourselves as parents, as teachers. We can do this for teach our kids how to do this for themselves, and it's tremendous what it does for them. Okay, so you want me to do a little demo?
Your favorite things, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the first things you can do is you can go ahead and you can do we call it lap to lip. So as you're sitting, you just kind of come up like this and touch your chin and then come back, and you're just doing this. This is actually very recentering. Have you ever seen a martial arts person go up to someone and swipe down on their opponent?
Yeah, yes, my son used to do some taekwondo, yeah.
Yeah, and they do the swipe down thing, and it's actually to take the body's energy and to kind of make it collapse for a little bit. And when we say energy, we mean electrical system of the body, right? It affects it. And so what we're doing here is we're just bringing it all back up where it's supposed to be. So you can just start with this, and then you take one hand and place it on the belly button, and then the first spot are what we call brain buttons. And so if you have your collarbone, you can see right here, right underneath your notches, you have a little indentation in between the two ribs. And you're going to use firm pressure. This isn't just like a light thing. This is actually a firm pressure. And you're going to really massage those points. Okay? If your kid says that these are sore, yeah, there you go. If your kid says that they're sore, or you say that you're sore, then that is a really good indicator it needs to be done. Okay? This helps with right to left hemisphere talking to each other. And that's always super helpful.
Oh, that's interesting, because as a teacher, I think about that all the time for reading. They have to Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And then whenever you do this, you're going to switch. So again, we're crossing the midline of the body, right? And we're just coming in and we're doing this. Okay. So I actually had one girl that came to me, and she was in college. And she said, I think I'm going to have to drop out of college. I can't understand anything that the college professor is saying. I can't take notes. I literally can't even process what he's saying. And I said, look, sit in class and simply just come like this and try doing these brain buttons. Just massage them in class. You can sit there casual like, and just kind of, just kind of switch it up and just act like nonchalant, like you're messing with your necklace or whatever, And sure thing, she did it. And she goes, oh my goodness. She said, I could understand everything. All of a sudden, I could hear what he was saying. Wow. I took like tons of notes, and needless to say, she ended up not dropping out of college because all of a sudden she could hear.
Gosh, that's impressive.
Yeah, she could understand and process, and especially with our little ones, teach them this because
we're going to do that during our yoga. We do yoga once a week in the preschool.
Yes, yeah. So, immature minds already have a hard time processing life and processing stress. So why not go ahead and help them out a little bit, right?
Yeah, I love that.
So any problems with academic type of things, you're going to look at this right to left hemisphere action, okay?
Very fun. I love it.
And then, I'm pretty sure all the parents, if I say temper tantrum or meltdown, we know that's kind of like our biggest foe right there.
Definitely.
Yes. And so one way that you can help end that very quickly is actually, again, you're going to have one hand, put it on your belly button, and then you're going to take the two fingers. Okay, so we're always using two fingers and a thumb, and we use that here, but we're going to come here, and it's right here in the divot here and here in this divot. And you're just going to actually rub. And this looks really funny when you do it, but it really works. Okay? You're going to just come and you're going to, again, use firm pressure, and you're going to rub, rub, rub. Okay? Make yourself a little mustache and change and rub. You're going to want to rub for about 30 seconds or so.
What is that activating?
Well, that's activating the processing from the reptilian survival brain all the way up to the higher parts of the brain where complex thought happen. And so what you're doing is you're taking them out of this, oh my goodness, I'm going to melt down, I don't know what to do. It's emotional reactivity. right? So the survival brain that wants to do one thing, and then, which may not always be appropriate, by the way, and then, getting that to where it can come up to the top parts of the brain for complex thought. It can really stop a temper tantrum. It can help an adult even who is just like, oh, have mercy. This is one of those days.
Is it pressure points or energy, or what causes that?
Yeah, these are actually acupoints.
They are.
And so, these are all acupoints on the body. They can also be called neuropoints because they are directly linked in through the nervous system into the parts of the brain, so that we can come in and just switch these right back on.
Okay? I love it.
Yeah. And then there's a last one, and a lot of this deals with self-sabotage, attention, focus, the ability to move forward in life, or even for a child, being able to transition from playtime into book time. Within the classroom. Yeah, we all know it. Sometimes it's really hard to put those toys away and have to move to the next thing, or to leave the house and get to the car, from the car to the grocery store. I mean, so many
those
things that have to do with
struggles. Yeah, as a mom, I mean, those are no joke.
Yeah, no, they are not. And this one looks a little funnier. So I tell kids, if you're at school, you can totally do this one and this one at your desk, but this one you got to go and excuse yourself to the restroom, because the point is actually your tailbone. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have one hand still on your belly button, but you're gonna rub your tailbone. Okay. And it's actually Acupoint GB1, and you're just gonna rub that and rub, and you'll find it really is sore. That's the crazy part. And you're gonna rub, and then you're gonna switch it up and rub again. And so, when you have all of these going for you and you're all nice and switched on, you can make these transitions, you can process whatever's coming at you, all these different sensory things for a kid as well. We're able to then move through the day, handling the day while still processing correctly. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing for parents.
Well, yeah, because they're like little simple tricks that anybody can do. I know parents often think like they need to be, have a master's degree in yoga or something to help.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not at all. It's so simple, and it's really life-changing. And the best part is that even a toddler can learn how to do their own switch-ons. And so using the grump meter, you can say, okay, well, we're in a place of calm. So right now, we're just going to make sure that we're doing okay. We're going to start our morning off. I just call it a morning dance party. Some people might want to be like super zen, but in my house, we're doing good just to wake up.
Yeah, and get out the door before everything's closed or you're too late for school.
Right, exactly. And so we just did a morning dance party. We're like, okay, let's turn on the music. We're going to come in. We're going to do this. We're going to do some switch-ons. We're all nice and switched on. And then I'll just go ahead and do some like cross crawl stuff where, we're just coming up and just kind of doing stuff like this and just having fun. And it totally sets the kid up for their day and helps them to be able to head out the door, at least fully able to process. And then you teach them how to do it using the grump meter. They can feel as soon as they're leaving their calm place, they can begin to step, it shows kind of, you have your calm place and you're starting to get agitated, and then you start to get, angry. Right. If you're moving up your grump meter, that would be a great time to go ahead and for yourself know that at that point you should go ahead and do these switches. And it's amazing how quickly toddlers learn this.
I was going to ask you what's the youngest that you think a kid can recognize that?
Yeah, well, it depends. Some kids are reading at the age of 3, some kids are reading at the age of 7, but this doesn't require any a particular skill other than to just memorize, oh, I can do this. Okay. And just like a child learns to potty train, or a child learns, to walk to his bed at night and to brush his teeth, they can learn, oh, this is where I touch when I want to be calm. And This is where I touch when I need to get recentered and not be angry, right? And so the more that you use it as a parent and the more that child is using it with you, the more they just pick it up. But yes, I've seen easily 3-year-olds using this for themselves to be able to help with self-regulation.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Well, great. Yeah. And then some of the other things I was wondering about is what are some things you think parents can do to reduce some of the stressors so maybe the kids don't have to hit their grunt meter too often?
Quite so much. Well, there are set things that you can do to be able to reduce the amount of stress that's in their day. And this is where I just want to put out there, if you're a parent of special needs kids, dyslexia, ADD, different forms of autism spectrum, your days can be very, very challenging. I've sat at the table with 2 kids with oral sensitivities, and it's not a peaceful place.
Right.
And trying to make it through a family dinner, it's like an ideal thing, it sounds like, until you have everything come together. And so there are some genuine stresses that just doing switch-ons aren't going to necessarily solve all the problems for. And that I would encourage people to find a good brain integration specialist. That has been life-changing for so many families. Being able to even eat foods without meltdowns, being able to have the ability to be under fluorescent lights, the ability to hear sounds, like a ding, 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 or a tapping of a pencil or anything like that. On that, I would say, look at the brain integration therapy, because that's going to be a key thing that's going to radically change your life and change your days and the amount of stress that you and your child are actually experiencing. And so that is really the number one thing I want to put out there for parents of special needs kids.
How would they find somebody who specializes in that? Because I think that's a pretty special topic, right?
It is. I actually do brain integration therapy, but if you need to have help with finding someone, I have people from all over the country that contact me. I have people from all over the country that come and see me, but I have really, really tried to keep people as local as possible. Unfortunately, there are some states that don't have any practitioner at all, and you do need to travel. But if you go ahead and contact me at www.genlearning.com, I am happy to go ahead and help find a practitioner that has good, reputable standing, an excellent track record. I know that they are really producing great results. I'm happy to go ahead and set you up with them so that you can find that relief for your kiddos. Okay.
Nice. And I know I liked one of the things you had mentioned earlier in our messages to each other. You were saying to let them be bored.
Yes. Yes, that is for sure. Let them be bored. When they come to you and they say, I'm bored, we have this sense that all of a sudden it's our responsibility to fix their boredom, and it's really not our responsibility. There's a book out there called Bored and Brilliant, and honest, we got the audiobook and put it in the car so that our kids could listen to it. My kids are a little older, and they absolutely loved listening to that because we were having a little bit of a technology crisis. They always wanted to have the phone,
right?
Always wanted to have the iPad. If they didn't have, a screen, it was starting to develop. And so we just put that in there. And really, it's how spacing out can unlock your most productive and creative self. And it talks about how, the most
you have to allow room for thinking. Yeah.
It is. That is the biggest thing that we find now, is that kids are always on the go. We somehow feel as though they need to be in every sport, and they have to have the extra academic stuff, and they need to have all the music lessons, plus they get home, they have to have homework as well. And really, sometimes it's better just to let them have some space so that they have downtime. And that is a tremendous help to families, a tremendous help to the kid. And it's downtime away from other screens and things like that. This is downtime, specifically, where they can be bored and truly process the feelings of the day, which doesn't really happen if they've got a screen in front of them. The other thing is that when we are putting our kids in front of screens all the time, we're actually teaching them inadvertently to disengage with life.
Sure.
And when we let them be bored, then they are learning how to engage in life. There should never be a bored moment if you know how to create fun. And so, you can again go to Pinterest and look at bored and brilliant, and there are a bazillion genius mom ideas on cute little craft things you can do to be able to encourage that. Because I know we say let them be bored, and there's moms rolling their eyes right now, feeling like they're going to their grave, right?
Yeah, because then they start thinking they're going to be underneath them, constantly pulling on their shirt, like mom, mom, mom. Yeah.
Yes, and that's not exactly what we're talking about. But if you look on Pinterest and look up Bored and Brilliant, there are some great ideas there to help your kiddos just to have their own downtime and to be able to process the day. Very, very important for a kid to be able to process their stress. If they are encountering any kind of bullying, or even just a teacher that they're not really meshing well with, they need time away from a screen to just sit and internally process certain questions like, how can I make this better? Roll some options around in their head. It doesn't happen if they're going from this to this to this to this, right? So this is also teaching them how to problem solve.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I even see that with the little kids I teach now. In general, it's a lot of them will come into the preschool and we have like the free playtime, which is supposed to be great. But I've been noticing more and more over the years, there's so many kids who think free playtime is kind of like torture because they're like, I don't know what to do, and there's 500 different stations and different choices and other kids doing things, but they just follow the teacher around and we have to give them an activity because I'm sure some of it is personality, but some of it I think is these kids are just, like you said, they're always scheduled, they're always on a screen. Yeah. And that's something that always breaks my heart. It's like, oh, you can do Play-Doh, you can paint, you can build with the blocks, you can play in the kitchen, you can dress up, and they're like, no. Like, no. Anything. So if they have time to be able to think about like, what do they like? And like you said, be able to process life. So even I think as an adult, we need that too, right?
Yeah.
Have some time to think. So definitely. And then I was gonna ask you if you were able to give parents of young children one tip, what would be your most important thing that you would tell them?
I would tell them to educate yourself. I wish that every child came out of the womb with a little tag attached to their toe that said, this is your model of child. This is how you can get best practices are.
I love that.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be amazing.
Done right there. But I tell you, motherhood was something else. I did not get a run-of-the-mill kid. And I was not a kid that like did a lot of babysitting and stuff. I mean, I worked a lot with like ages 12 through 25, but I had this kid that was sitting up in a grocery cart on his own at 3 months old. Army crawling across the floor at 4 months and running around all over the place. I was like, what? I'm supposed to be able to take a nap. What are you talking about? There was something wrong. Well, so I have spent literally I never intended to even have a business, but I knew that there were things, my gut instinct told me that there was something more that was going on, and I had to educate myself. And at the time it was more difficult to find information. Now there's a lot more information out there, but that is the big thing, as moms. We have this gut, we've got this intuition. Dads, a lot of times, they've got this as well. And if you've got that, educate yourself because you know your kid best. and you need to empower that.
Definitely. Yeah, no, and I think that's hard sometimes as a mom, or you're hearing so many different opinions from everybody out there, and it's hard to figure out, to discern what is the right choice for you, for sure.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a process of elimination, but learning things like some Bach flower remedies. Oh my goodness.
No,
They will literally stop a temper tantrum in 30 seconds or less. Combined with the switching, it is phenomenal. Kids with sensory issues, kids that have emotional issues, sleeping troubles. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can learn with Bach flower remedies. Also on my website, there's one of the things that I'm doing just to empower families is to put in an entire section of classes that you can take for free that address what I call the total load of stress. Okay, so when you talk about stress, it's not just emotional stress. Stress is actually men. It's mechanical, emotional, and nutritional. So when we talk about stress, it's not just emotional stress. It's not just nutritional stress. It's literally the cumulative load. It's that effect that is that's impacting the body, right? And so I have classes specifically for mechanical stresses, what you can do for that, emotional stresses, how to deal with that, and nutritional stresses. And so, you know, going through and realizing how the body works and how this one thing is affecting your kid. So maybe they need to have a little break, because if you try to do like a birthday party and a wedding back to back, may not be the best idea.
It would be fun for anybody.
So yeah, those are things that are really, really important. And I love working with people like you who are empowering parents and putting the message out there. I love working with parents and teaching them how to work with how their child's body works. It's quite a joy.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think we have a couple more minutes. If I could just ask you a couple more questions. If you could tell the parents, what is the Bach flower method? Because I know that was new for me. So.
Okay. Well, and it's yeah, it's not Bach the composer, just so you know. It is Dr. Edward Bach. He was actually a physician and a chemist in England. And so he noticed in his practice with patients that certain health disorders seemed to have the same personality type. And so he went through and he started noticing how certain dispositions lent us towards certain diseases. But he ended up, through the process of several years, developing these homeopathic solutions that are actually made from flowers and whatnot. And it actually helps bring a body or a person's inherent constitution back into balance. And it can also be used for times of intense stress. So I've literally used the Bach flower rescue remedy to stop temper tantrums, a panic attack where the school literally thought they were about to have to call the ambulance because, you know, my kid was in full-on panic attack from having to go into speech and debate tournaments. Okay. And then, you know, mom life. And then, you know, burns. My son had actually had boiling water fall on top of him. And we lived in about 45 minutes from the nearest hospital, and he had already gone into shock. And I just started pumping him full of it and bringing him out of it, and we were able to get him to some good medical help. But yeah, it's a powerful, powerful tool. This little yellow bottle you can get at your health food store. It does many, many things.
And you were saying earlier that you are going to be doing a giveaway for a class about that method?
Yeah, I actually am teaching a Bach flower class. There's portions of it that are going to be just all for parents, all for moms. We are going to get a little more in depth even for how you would use that for topical application for body pain and things. And it's going to be a really fun class. That's going to be on November 2nd. They'll be at 9 a.m. And that's actually one of my giveaway items, is I can go ahead and whoever is the lucky winner can go ahead and attend that online at any time they want, or they can actually join the class live as well.
Oh, great. Yeah. And we'll have a link for you to enter that giveaway in the email. So make sure you check out on that. And I don't know if we have any more time left here or not, but I know I didn't get to really address the one other area that I know you're really have a lot of knowledge in is nutrition and how that affects emotions. So I don't know if there's a quick overview, what you can give parents maybe to have them get started to learn more about that, or any quick suggestions.
Yeah, there are actually classes out there already on Pinterest that I have taught on nutrition. But here's my key thing. I just want to remind parents that if it says organic, that does not mean that it's healthy.
Organic cookies are good. Come on.
That just means it's chemical free. And also gluten-free does not mean that it's healthy and that it's providing your child with the nutrients needed for brain function.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of confusion with that. And it's
right. I mean, if they sell that Whole Foods, it has to be healthy for you.
That's right. Well, and kids often tell me, they'll say, oh, well, I had a donut, like this donut, but guess what? It was made with organic flour. So okay. Was it also organic lard? Which I'm totally not opposed to fun foods and things like that at all. But I would say the biggest thing you can do for your kid to help reduce their stress and let them have optimal brain function is to provide foods that are not in a package. If you will simply stick to the food that is in nature's package, just the way it is when it comes out of the ground or whatever, you can be assured that it's going to have all the complexity that's needed for them to be able to develop and to grow. And it's very rare, unless you have food allergies, food sensitivities, gut issues, things like that, to have the inability to eat foods that are packaged the way that nature made them.
Definitely.
So,
I think people often think like fruit snacks, or I know my youngest daughter came to me recently and wanted to drink a bottle, a can that was called fruit juice on it. Well, I was like, all right, let's look at what's in there. And high fructose corn syrup, there's no fruit in that, honey. I'm sorry, but it's like fruit juice. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I tell my kids there's really not a lot of need for juice. Yeah. There's really not. There are multiple other things that we can do with water and real fruit to be able to make it better, more palatable. But things like just keeping, grapes or strawberries or little cutie oranges or things like that available for snacks, getting them used to those kinds of tastes and flavors, it's going to be a game changer. My kid is 16. My son is 16, actually, almost 17, and he went to camp, and he gave in, and he's like, well, since we got rid and we've taken care of all of his food allergies, so he can have whatever he wants now for like the first time in his life. Yes, it's awesome. And he tried a carbonated beverage. We'll refrain from saying the name, and he goes, oh, Mom, that was horrible. It was so sweet and syrupy. It was disgusting, and I was like, yes,
right,
Mom, it is good.
Win for Mom. Yeah.
Because his taste buds weren't used to that super sweet, used to that intense, processed food type of stuff. Yeah. And that's a real win when your kids can appreciate food in its whole state.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Christine, you are amazing. You know so much in like every aspect about development and helping kids deal with stress and nutrition, and all your different therapies that you share and know about are just, I don't know, I'm amazed, seriously. So, and I hope that parents will be able to reach out to you and follow some of the links that you mentioned. We'll make sure to include those in the email, and especially the grunt meter, because I just think I love the name of that one. And, if they want to learn more just about you, they can come to your website is genlearning.com. Is that right?
Yes, it's short for Genesis Learning Enhancement. And so that's a little long to type. So we just put GEN for genlearning.com.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much. And I feel like I could chat with you for hours, but in the interest of time for the parents that are watching these videos, we'll have to end it here. So thank you so much for chatting with me today. And be sure, everybody, to come on over and learn more about the amazing work that Christine is doing. So,
All right. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.